Good evening. Today we started looking at word problems with rational numbers. The toughest part about working with these things is trying to figure out which operation you're going to use. So I'm going to go through two of these questions from the homework with you to walk you through them in case you're stuck, and hopefully you'll be able to figure out how to do the other 6. So we'll start with number 4. At Wilford's Arcade, half of the games are racing games. Among the racing games, one half of those are motorcycle racing games. What fraction of the games at Wilford's Arcade are motorcycle racing games? So as you see here, I've already written, but I'm going to walk you through what I've written. So, for starters, out of all the games at his arcade, half of Wilford's games are racing games. So one half of all of those means half of all of those. Then, as we move on, it says among the racing games, which is represented by our 1/2 right here, because that's half of all the games. Among the racing games, half of those are motorcycle racing games. So, in order to figure out what fraction of all of the games are motorcycle racing games, you must figure out what 1/2 of 1/2 is. Okay? Most of you can probably figure this one out in your head. Half of 1/2 is 1/4. But in case you can't do that, you should recognize that the word of, if we're trying to find a fraction of another fraction, of can be translated as multiplication. Okay? That's a very key word that you should be looking for when you work on these problems. And here's the proof. Since you know and I know that half of 1/2 is 1/4, I'm proving to you that of can be represented by multiplication. Come on over here and say 1/2 times 1/2, and what do you end up with? There you go. 1/4 of the games are motorcycle racing games. So let's bump down. Hold up here. To number 7. This is the second one I'll do with you, and please understand that the other 6 are your responsibility. So, what we have here is it says, Mr. Rotini has 3/4 of a pound of Parmesan cheese. He wants to put an equal amount of cheese on each of his family's 4 pizzas. How much cheese goes on each pizza? Well, folks, if this gets confusing with the fractions, and you're trying to figure out, well, do I do 3/4 divided by 4, or do I do 4 divided by 3/4? First of all, he only has 3/4 of a pound of Parmesan cheese. So your answer, how much cheese goes on each pizza, better be less than 1 whole pound. Secondly, if you notice, we're figuring out pounds of cheese per pizza. That means, as you can see over here on the right, and let me move that in case you can't, that means pounds divided by pizza. Okay? So since we know our units are pounds per pizza, that means pounds goes on top, and you divide by number of pizzas. So 3/4 pounds divided by 4 pizzas. And now, let's just work on through it. Okay, so 3/4 divided by 4 is the same thing as saying 3/4 times 1/4, which I didn't even need to rewrite. I already have that down here. Okay, so instead of dividing, we multiplied by the reciprocal of 4. And then all we have to do is multiply straight across. These questions are not meant to be super difficult in terms of the multiplication and division that's taking place, but what they are meant to do is to challenge you to think what operation needs to be used, whether it's multiplication or division, or addition or subtraction, or as well as make you challenge you to figure out which order you need to place those numbers in. Okay? So at the top of your paper, you've got a box with 3 numbers in it, and those are just tips to help you out. Number 2 is really important though. If 3/4 is confusing to you, plug in a whole number like 20 and try and solve the problem and see if that makes more sense, and then go back and work through it using your fractions. So for instance, Mr. Rotini has 20 pounds of Parmesan cheese. How much cheese goes on each pizza? You know you'd do 20 divided by 4. That would give you 5 pounds per pizza. Okay, now plug in your rational number and try and do the same. Folks, have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Hello!